About 600 million people, almost 1 in every 12 people on our planet, fall sick after eating contaminated food every year, and of these, 420,000 people die from it. Unsafe food in low and middle income countries results in the loss of $110 billion in productivity and medical expenses every year. Children under 5 years of age carry 40% of the foodborne disease burden, with 125,000 children dying every year. Food is one of the most integral things to existence. Food is something that gives us tremendous joy. Food is something that gives us sustenance. Food is something that we indulge in sadness, in happiness, in health. And yet, if not handled properly, food can be a terrible curse. From the farms to the shelves of the retail outlets closest to you, food passes through multiple stages, processes, and pairs of hands, all of which are potential sources of contamination and adulteration. If food is not handled the right way and in the right conditions at each of these stages, and if ingredients of the right quality do not go into it, it won't be safe for you. This is especially true in this age of mass convenience food. Globally, we've become increasingly dependent on convenience food. Many of these food items can contain substances that are harmful to us. No wonder many of us are worried.
Pasta-e-dolce is a cottage food business. Food is at the heart of what we do, and food safety is very important to us. Food adulteration is the most common concern. Harmful substances can seep into the food, degrading the quality of the final product and causing health problems for the consumer. So it is very important for food producers like us to abstain from using products which have many chemical additives or very negligible nutritional value. Once the food is out of the farm, it is very important to store it in appropriate conditions. For instance, a single unfit chicken or a batch of unfit potatoes can make people very sick and damage the reputation of our business beyond repair. We do our best, but we are constantly on the edge that what we serve on the plate is safe enough to be consumed.
Which is why the science of food safety is critical. It helps us to identify and weed out various different contaminants in our food and beverages, and aids us in controlling the amount of additives that we put in them. It helps us to install various different checks and balances in all the different aspects of the food chain, from the farmer to the consumer. And it ensures that the food values on the packets and the nutritional values on those packets actually reach the customers who are consuming those products. Whilst very simple brining, smoking, canning methods were available to us and were sufficient years ago, today this is no longer the case, and we need new techniques and new methods to ensure the safety of food. In many countries, one of the chief challenges is conceiving and implementing food safety measures in the widest range of food types consumed. Also, these measures should address the diverse nutritional needs of the different sections of the population. This has become especially crucial as more and more people move towards convenience food. There is a need for people at every step of the food value chain to be conscious of safety and quality, and it all begins at the farm.
Moran is a food forest. We grow everything we eat like a forest, including 30 to 33 types of fruit trees, vegetables, rice, chicken, eggs, and milk products. Our journey began with a mission to provide safe and nutritious food driven by health of our child. Over the period of time, we have learned that soil quality is paramount for the quality of food. To maintain soil quality and prevent contamination, we ensure aerobic conditions are maintained always, and we enrich the soil with good compost and soil carbon. We don't use any chemicals, and even wastewater is treated before entering into the soil. We harvest after proper maturity and ensure proper ripening, and use natural alternatives like brine instead of chemicals. We carefully inspect every product, discarding anything with visual damage or unusual odor. Our dedicated staff undergoes expert training, ensuring food safety practices are followed consistently.
Globally, dairy is one of the most consumed food types. Milk, milk powder, butter, cheese, Cottage cheese and yogurt are some of the dairy products consumed in large quantities in various forms. Unless the right precautions are taken, adulterants and other contaminants can easily affect the quality of these products too.
Milk being the key ingredient of the dairy products, it is important to understand two different kinds of contaminants, that is chemical and microbiological. Chemical contaminations, they result from feed, water, drug and various medical practices, while microbiological contaminations, they stem from health of the animal, unhygienic conditions, cross-contaminations, etc. At this stage, it is also important to understand the difference between adulterations and contaminations. Contaminations are unintentional in nature and they are fallout of poor understanding of consequences or the wrong practices. So some of the typical examples of chemical contaminants in milk are toxins, for example, aflatoxin M1, antibiotics, pesticides, heavy metals. Besides, there are other type of contaminants, newly identified sort of. For example, everlasting chemicals, certain identified esters, dioxins, microplastics, and similarly in microbiology also. Typically in milk, there are hygiene indicators and there are pathogens. As the milk journeys from farm to the factory and eventually from customers to the consumers, it passes through several stages and each stage is extremely important from contamination point of view. So for example, if milk is reaching to the nearby milk collection center, it must reach in shortest possible time. It must be cool to less than 4 degrees Celsius. The hygienic conditions of the collection center is very important. Cleaning practices, sanitation practices, chilling efficiency and storage of milk plays a very crucial role. From here, the milk will go to the nearby processing factory. Upon reaching the factory, milk is tested for various chemicals and microbiological parameters. Advances in the field of technology is playing a great role, typically in terms of speed and efficiency. For example, spectrophotometry, NIR, FTIR, chromatography, RT-PCRs, lateral flow techniques, all these are making the life of the dairy professionals much efficient. Testing also becomes very accurate.
Within the field of food safety is the highly specialized subdomain of microbial food and beverage testing, known as MFBT. MFBT is a key part of the food safety solution worldwide. Here, various kinds of food are placed under scrutiny and a variety of tests are carried out by highly qualified and trained scientists and analysts.
Microbes, including bacteria, are an essential part of the food we consume. For example, microbes responsible for fermentation, like beer as well as wine, gives flavor to the product. We also know that other microbes, primarily pathogens, cause spoilage as well as other health hazards. So, we do not expect these to be present in the food that we consume. Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, a UN organization, has laid down a set of standards, guidelines, and framework to protect the health of consumers. In India, we have FSSAI, an apex regulatory body that aims to regulate the food industry through test standards, risk assessments, audits, and competency building. A food scientist ascertains the aspects of nutrition, contamination, and shelf life through various techniques. A food microbiologist then ascertains the microbial levels in a food sample to ensure that it conforms to acceptable standards. Overall, the objective is to ensure that the food that reaches the consumer is safe.
Ensuring the safety of the food consumed by an entire region or population needs a wide-angle view of the problem and of the solution, which is where policy framing and regulatory bodies come in.
In India, the Food Safety Standard Authority of India is the apex regulatory bodies inside this country. The Food Safety Standard Authority of India is the responsible for to create the science-based standard of food article and their food product. Their responsibility to regulate the food safety and their licensing, their distribution, their testing, their import samples, are the major role of the as a regulatory body inside the country. The Food Safety Standard Authority of India is also responsible for to provide the wholesome and safe food fit for the consumption for every Indians. Like FSSAI, every country have their own regulatory bodies. For example, the USA have the US FDA, the Australia and New Zealand have their, as well as the European country have their European regulation. Similarly, the major role of the Food Safety Standard Authority of India is to provide safe and quality food inside the country. Including this responsibility, we are also doing the time-to-time surveillance services inside the country, taking the samples, their licensing under the FOSCOS scheme. We have created the awareness program, capacity building program to train the manpower of the laboratories person, our food safety officers and their regulatory requirements, enforcement, create a awareness. Like festival season, we have campaign to the drive to the alteration of milk and milk product. We have consumption, taking the samples from the market. We have taken drive to find out the food fraud system inside the country and to ensure that whatever food is provided under the FSSAI license, that is safe for consumption.
The science of food safety has developed tremendously over the years. Today, it is intricate, multidimensional, and comprehensive. It involves diverse tools, techniques, methods, and skill sets to ensure that this food is safe for you. New challenges are constantly emerging in the realm of food safety, especially the new vertical of nutraceuticals. This means that those working in the field of food safety have to constantly keep upgrading their skills, their equipment, their tools, and their techniques. And this means that you, the consumer, have to be on your guard all the time. When we buy a food product, processed or unprocessed, in any form, we are buying not just what's inside the package, we are buying the promise of safety. And so, it is the responsibility of every stakeholder in the food value chain, from farm to table, to ensure that this promise is kept. Several progressive farmers, food producers, policymakers, transporters, scientists, technicians, and others are constantly at work behind the scenes to ensure that the food we eat is safe. These are the safe hands we must thank.